Hi, Jessica. Thanks for coming.
Hi, thanks.
um, let's just start with just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Endurance coach and a mom, a wife. I live in the mountains of Washington State. And yeah, I like to spend time outside. I like adventure. Really excited about this opportunity.
Yes, love it. Excuse me. Uh, what inspired you to apply for the grant? And then with that, kind of the subset would be, you know, the gear, like what comes into play along those lines. What kind of gear are you thinking would work best for your trip from
Yeah,
us?
absolutely. So what inspired me, I had heard about the grant from Big Agnes social media and did a little research, and Bob sounded like a really amazing guy, just from what I had read. And I was itching for a big adventure. So I started sort of pondering different routes. For me, I really love like the creativity of coming up with a route that makes sense. And I like loops, human powered loops. So this seemed like a really cool opportunity to put something together and hopefully get some support from Big Agnes, honor Bob's memory, and have some fun.
Love it. I love it. So gear wise,
Yes.
what are you thinking would be sort of your best fit for this trip? Because I believe you're kind of trying to go light,
Yep.
maybe not over the
Absolutely.
top, but for the most part, I believe your adventure kind of has to be packable and light.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I have a dream kit. I could just list that off, but I won't, unless you want me to. But yeah, I mean, Big Agnes makes some really awesome ultralight gear, and in my mind, you guys are also known for some really nice bike packing specific gear. Tent poles that'll fit between the handlebars on my bike and that kind of thing. So
Nice.
I'm really looking forward to using that gear. And then also you guys have these sleep systems, and I confess I have yet to dial in my sleep system. And so I'm super psyched that I get to try out the sleep systems and really get that figured out for this trip.
Awesome. I will say the bike packing tents I've used are amazing and then some. We even did our own adventure as a company. Because we sponsor the CDT or the
Hmm.
CDTC, who takes care of the CDT, and we did the entire state of Colorado as a company. We relayed
Cool.
it, and so I got to do a couple
Awesome.
different bike packing sections, and it was amazing. That was kind of the longest days I had gone out. Not just like a one nighter kind of thing, and to do
Yep.
a couple different sections of the trail and some that I had never been to before, which was incredible. But like all the things we talked about in the very beginning,
Yeah.
because they asked us like, what do we need in the tent for bike packing? What do we don't need? So on and so forth. And I think we came, our design team's incredible. So it was awesome to see that. And I will tell you from day one, the sleep system, there is no need for me to rock anything else. A couple iterations over the years, but honestly, I think it's the jam because number one, your bag and pad, you stay together and you can't roll off
Yes.
of it. I'm a big
Yep.
guy, so I'd wake up with like a leg on the ground and then the
Yep.
rest of me still on it. And I'm like, yeah, it's not really that comfortable that way.
Yep.
So
Totally.
I'm glad that you've got that going on, and well, I'll be getting that going on for you in that, for sure. Um, let's talk a little adventure itself.
Yeah.
When are you starting, and then what does your adventure entail? Because I think that's something that the audience will really love to hear. One of the reasons why you were selected. We've always been dreaming. I think every group, every person that we've sponsored with this grant has done something incredible, like cool, fun, the whole bit. But we've always talked about the back of the napkin. You're sitting like having coffee in the morning with some friends. And you're like, well, I could do this to this, and then this here, and then that there. And
Yeah.
this one emulates that more than any, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess it probably makes sense to describe the trip from start to finish, but I will say what inspired this route was the Cannell Trail, which is in the middle of the trip. And the Cannell Trail is a really rugged route. It's an abandoned road. It's been abandoned for decades now, and it goes across the Mackenzie Mountains in northern Canada. And I had heard of it and wanted to check it out. Anybody who's done it is like, it's basically pack raft required because of the river crossings. People have actually lost their lives trying to get across those rivers without a boat. So got to have a boat. And it just really appealed to me. It's a really wild route. And so then I was looking at that route, and, most people hire an expensive bush plane. They fly in. There's a lot of logistics. It's expensive and tricky. And I was looking at it and I'm like, well, I could actually start in Whitehorse and bike to where the Mackenzie River meets the road, and then float down the Mackenzie River. And the Mackenzie River is like, it's the biggest river in Canada. So it's this huge river. It averages like 700,000 CFS in June.
Oh
typically. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's
so
awesome.
it's not technical, but it's just a lot of water. And so, yeah, I would, float down this river, and that's how I would get to the start of the Cannell Trail rather than flying in. I would bike and then boat myself in. And then at the end of the trail, there's actually an airstrip, and most people fly out from there. But I was like, well, I'll have my bike with me. I could just bike back to where I started in Whitehorse. I don't need a bush plane. I'll just, make it all human powered. And the trail itself, I'll have my bike. From the research I've done, a bike is maybe not the best tool for the job there. I think there's probably going to be a lot of pushing, but that's okay. That's part of the adventure. So
bike pack. Yeah. No, most people like it should be bike packing parentheses, hike a bike.
Right.
Parentheses. Like that's the way it should be said as you talk about bike packing. Yes, you can go on adventures where you stay on your bike most of the time, but even us on the CDT, we bike packed up this section that I think was water runoff. Like that's how they built the trail. It wasn't like all hand built. And I was watching somebody come down it with a huge backpack hiking, and it just looked dangerous. Like I wanted to put pads on and downhill it. It was so burly. And I'm like, this is part of it. And, and our bikes were light, of course, for that kind of stuff. So yeah, but that's all part of the adventure. I mean, I think it's awesome. And, to be able to bike pack raft, and human powered for the whole thing. That was another thing is, you mentioned the bush plane, but you're not using the bush plane. I thought that was awesome as well. So, hopefully it'll inspire other people to try and come up with their own scheme to pull off some stuff like this. I think it's a lot of fun when you can do stuff along those lines. All right, let's see. So you're rolling solo.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to occupy your time? You bring in like one book, or you like, what are you going to do? You bring in like a little chessboard, you play yourself, because in the middle of nowhere it's like you against you. What do you got?
So yeah, this is when people are like, huh, you're an interesting one. Because I prefer to roll solo, and I also don't typically like listen to music or anything. I often am just like kind of out there in my own head. And yeah, I mean, I like to run numbers. So I'm like super nerdy. Like I like to do math in my head.
I like it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun, and I don't know, it's one way I keep my brain occupied. Take it as you will. I also love to take photos. So
sweet.
Yeah, I'm constantly looking around and thinking about the light and what I'm seeing, and I will always stop for a potentially good photo. They don't always turn out, but I'm never, it's one of the reasons I like adventures like this rather than like full on bike packing races, is because if I see something like just astounding, I can stop without it being stressful. Like, it's like, okay, this is what I'm here for, to capture this. So
awesome. No, I love that. I love that. So roughly how long do you expect the trip to take?
I think So I'm anticipating about 6 weeks. I think that's a realistic time frame. It's just under 2,000 miles total.
Cool.
And it could go a little faster. It could also go a lot slower. The Camel Trail is definitely the crux of the trip, and it's 220 miles. But like some fast dudes on mountain bikes did it quickly in 8 to 10 days. So
Okay. Gotcha.
that 220 miles is going to be challenging. And if I have a mechanical in the middle of it, that's just going to make it longer. So,
Yep. Oh yeah.
yeah, we'll
Nope.
see how long.
Totally understand that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
For this adventure of yours, besides ourselves, how can people follow along in your journey?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. Instagram handle is Jessie_goes, JESSI_GOES. I have a website for my coaching business, and I imagine I will probably be posting some blog posts there, although my guess is that sort of content will also be on Big Agnes. But yeah, coaching website is evergreenendurance.com. Yeah, and that's cool. Those are probably the best ways. And there's probably going to be some weeks in there, like when I'm on the trail, that I won't be updating at all. So sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you will be slightly remote at times,
yes.
So we definitely understand that. I think this goes along with that same moments where you're like, well, I just kind of you're taking it in and you take the pictures in and you do get that disconnect, and I think it's great for your body, great for your brain.
Yes.
And the other sounds like you're going to just be in nature. So, I mean, those moments are pretty special. For sure. I definitely know many times I've stopped to just kind of look around and be like, wow, I'm so glad I did this because I got to see this. So that's rad. I love it. I love it. Now for a little fun, nothing crazy.
Okay.
Not as crazy as my bad hair day. Definitely slept a little wrong, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with that. Just keep drinking coffee and I'll be totally fine.
Yeah. What does your coffee mug say?
It says I've worked here for 10 years and all I got was this stupid mug.
Nice.
I'm actually coming up on 12 years, so I don't know what the 12-year mug would say, but it's probably like a chunk because it has a donut on it. So
nice.
It might have like one little tiny piece of donut left and be like, who knows? Where's my next donut?
Yep, there you go.
We'll see. So this inspired by kind of my natural hair and that. What is your go-to costume?
Yeah, man. This is like the hardest question you've asked in the entire interview. I'm not a costume person. So
what? Oh my gosh. Do you are you wearing flair on the ride at all?
So I'm boring. I have friends who are super costume people, and they're just like you, probably.
You might have to raid their closet then before you leave.
I will. I do have this tiny little pink gorilla that my daughter gave me, like, gosh, it was like 8 years ago now. I don't know how long, that she gave me when she was much younger. She's now a teenager and would never give me such a thing. But she gave me this little stuffed pink gorilla that we named Spike Puffball because he has like a little puff of pink hair. I should have brought him to this meeting. And he's got like super awesome RBF. So he always looks mad. And I may bring him along on this trip. I haven't been as diligent about taking him with me on all my adventures as my daughter originally requested.
I think like strapped right to the headset.
I might.
Awesome.
Yeah. So maybe Spike will have to come. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Speaking of RBF, there's a new one I just saw recently, and it was resting brunch face.
Ooh, I like it. What does that look like?
The same place also had brunch you in the face.
Nice.
And I will say their brunch was pretty amazing.
Was it? Good. Nice.
That's awesome. Nice. Well, yes, I do think you might need to like talk to the friends, maybe grab a tutu or something, or just a fun shirt at some point. I mean, also you want to be seen when you're out there too. So
that's true. actually. That's
You know,
actually
maybe
it's
not
just
going
about
the orange way, but go like the bright something fun way.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll ponder that. I will do
Love it.
my very best.
Yes. We've converted another.
Yep.
Uh, Wrapping it up. And this is
Yeah.
just one that I came up with kind of, you know, we do costumes for all of our ambassadors. So like on the website, like that's one of their normal questions in that.
Yeah.
This is kind of the add-on in that. So you're stranded on an island. What is your last sort of meal and drink? Food and drink. It's not something that's going to sustain you living on the island. It's straight up kind of like your last meal, but I put it on an island versus like you were walking down to the chair kind of thing. You know, the island
Right.
sounds a lot
Okay, I like
nicer
it.
if you're, you know.
Got it. Yes, it's not as grim. It's not as grim. Oh man, this is so sad, but like so
It's
first of
not
all, I
sad.
should preface this by saying I can't cook. So that should explain my request because I'm like, I literally can't cook. People are like, oh, that's cute, but
Can
sometimes
we
you make
jump to
dinner.
question B? What are you going to cook while you're on the trail?
Yeah. I mean, that's what's so awesome about the trail is I just have to add water and I'm done.
Okay.
But so anyway, I think one of my favorite meals is a bagel with peanut butter, and then you put it in the microwave, and it's like kind of soft and chewy, and the peanut butter
Okay.
is a little messy, and
I love it.
so I think
That
that's what
works.
I would go with. And man, I'm gonna give a little shout out to our local brewery here where I live. Yeah.
Perfect.
And they make a beer, OSB, Old School House Brewing in the Methow Valley, and they make a beer. The beer's called Methow Blonde, um, and it's a really
Nice.
good beer. So yeah, I would probably wash the bagel down with a Methow Blonde.
Oh, I love it. Giving the shout out to local brewery, and you learned it here on the stakeout. Don't forget.
That's
Um,
right.
oh, wait. So, and then my last little thing. So, do you go
Yeah,
by Jesse instead of Jessica,
yeah,
or do you go
Jesse's
by
fine. Either one. It depends.
either one?
Yeah, based on your wig and pit vipers, I think you should call me Jessie.
Thank you for noticing my pit vipers. I
Oh
appreciate
yeah,
that.
they're
Really
very
appreciate
nice.
that.
I mean,
Thank you.
how could I
Thank you.
miss them? Yeah.
um, Jesse, you're awesome.
Thank you.
This makes me even more stoked that you are a grant winner and
Yeah.
we're going to help you with this awesome trip. Thank you for being on the stakeout. Thanks for sharing everything with the audience.
Yeah.
Super stoked for you. We'll be talking again soon, you know, to get you dialed in. But again, you're awesome. Super stoked for this adventure for you. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. And big thanks
Thanks,
to you and Big
everybody.
Agnes.
You are
See you
very,
later.
very welcome. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on the stakeout.